I did not start writing on Reddit because I wanted attention. This is a lie people tell when they want to feel clean about their compulsions. I started because I was the only place I could put down a thought and walk away without it following me home, or so I believed. At first, the routine was harmless, just a throwaway account, late nights, and the soft glow of a laptop illuminating on an unmade bed. I worked an autonomous remote job and lived alone in a town built to be passed through rather than lived in. When the workday ended, the silence came on thick and heavy. Writing filled the empty space. Writing kept the walls from listening. I gravitated towards horror subreddits because they offered a brutal honesty. The readers that understood dread, not the theatrical frights, but the slow, creeping rot that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. My early posts were small observations. A man who waved every night from the edge of a cornfield. A voicemail that played rhythmic breathing only when rewound. The comments were kind and encouraging, the familiar usernames popping up to offer praise. Then I wrote The Quiet Neighbor, and the atmosphere shifted. It was a first-person story about a man whose neighbor stands in the exact same spot outside his house every night, lingering just beyond the reach of the porch light, never meeting, never close, never gone. I kept the prose restrained, offering no clear explanations, and letting the reader sit in the raw uncertainty. It performed exponentially well. Front page, thousands of upvotes, and a flood of messages asking if it was based on true events. Answering those messages was my first mistake. I replied casually, "Thanks, just fiction, inspired by a mood and nothing more." I went to bed writing the euphoric high writers get when a piece truly connects. The following morning, a lone notification waited for me. A new comment, posted at 3:12 a.m. No username, just deleted. He likes the dark between the porch light and the street. I shrugged the notification away. It was a creepy addition, part of the course in a community when readers love to play along. But the phrasing lingered like a foul smell. Not the neighbor, not a general subject, just he. Familiar, utterly specific. I did not respond. The following night, another comment appeared underneath the post, still deleted, with the identical cadence of calm certainty. He can see through the screen door. The time step read 3:12 a.m. I blamed an insomniac troll with a flair for theatrical timing. The internet breeds them. Still, I locked my doors that night, more out of a ritual than genuine fear. I began cataloging the ambient sounds of the house. The refrigerator kicking into gear, the wind pressing heavy against the vinyl sliding, a solitary car passing on the road out front. Nothing more. A few days later, I posted a new piece, completely different premise, about a woman who hears phantom typing from an office down the hall. The standard praise rolls in, then buried halfway down the thread, sat another comment from deleted. The typing stops when you hold your breath. Timestamp at 3:12 a.m., cold pulled at the base of my throat. I scoured my profile, dissecting years of posts and comments. I never shared a location, a name, or a photograph. The oppressive weight of being watched settled over me anyway. I blamed coincidence, primarily because the alternative required believing the impossible. 2 weeks passed in agonizing slow motion. I tried to ignore the threads, but the compulsion always won. The comments never addressed my plot directly. Instead, they dissected my structure, my pacing, and the precise details I chose to omit, always from deleted, always at 3:12 a.m. I began sleeping with the laptop firmly closed shut. Then the power grid failed. No storm warning preceded it, and the lights did not flicker before dying. Total darkness swallowed the room. The town possessed cheap infrastructure and old lines making blackouts common. I grabbed my phone, engaged a flashlight, and navigated the hallway to check the breaker panel. The smell hit me first, damp earth and freshly turned soil. It had no place inside of a dry house. I stood absolutely motionless in the dark. The floorboards groaned as the temperature dropped, something deep in the walls. Water moved through the copper pipes. I blamed the natural odors of an aging foundation. When the power returned, I stepped away from the keyboard entirely. I needed space to let my racing mind settle. In the absence of news stories, the direct messages began. Private text from accounts with empty icons and deleted usernames. "We missed your words." I blocked the account. The platform simply replaced it with another. I tested the carbon monoxide detector and swapped the batteries just to be certain. I researched paranoia symptoms and slammed the browser shut before reading the results. There came a small detail, something I wish I had missed. In The Quiet Neighbor, I described the protagonist's house as having a cracked third step leading up to the porch. It was meant to be texture, simple atmospheric set dressing. The next morning, I walked outside to collect the mail. The third step of my own porch now bore a fresh, jagged hairline fracture. I crouched and traced the fissure with my index finger. The concrete felt cold and entirely unremarkable. I laughed out loud at my own unraveling mind. That night at 3:12 a.m., a single notification awoke the dormant thread. Concrete shifts when the ground is disturbed. I stopped laughing. I began meticulously documenting everything. Dates, exact times, digital screenshots, Yet every time I reviewed the files, the data had mutated, a crucial image missing, a timestamp shifted by an hour, a digital note I had no memory of drafting, written in my exact authorial voice. One entry sat alone in the blank document. He doesn't like when you check the windows twice. I wiped the drive clean. The following afternoon, the latch of the bathroom window sat open. It requires a specific forceful jiggle to unlock, and I check it religiously every night. I sat on the porcelain edge of the bathtub and stared at the latch. The glass offered only a warped, pale reflection of my own face. Desperation pushed me back to the keyboard. I avoided fiction and posted a purely analytical essay on the mechanics of writing fear, arguing that unknown holds more power than the explicit. It felt safe and detached. The first comment arrived almost instantly. We are not the unknown. Timestamped at 3:12 a.m. I slammed the lid down. My hand shook violently. No more rationalizing. I drafted a frantic message to the forum moderators, detailing the patterns, the exact timestamps, and the undeniable escalation. They responded with polite sympathy, suggesting that obsessive trolls latch onto rising creators. They advised me to step back, mute all notifications, or simply delete the account. Erasing my digital identity felt like a mixture of grief and salvation. I hovered over that deletion prompt for a full 10 minutes. Before I could click, one final message arrived. You cannot delete us. That was the moment the floor gave way entirely. The plural pronoun severed as my last tether to logic. I deleted the account. The platform locked me out. The page refreshed, and the pseudonym vanished. The resulting silence felt clinical and wrong, much like a room stripped of furniture, where only the heavy indentations remained in the carpet. I went to bed early and slept in fractured bursts. At exactly 3:12 a.m., my eyes snapped open. No noise woke me, only the absolute certainty that the atmosphere in the house had shifted. I lay paralyzed, regulating my breathing to listen. A wet, soft rhythm resonated from just beyond the exterior wall. Not footsteps. It was slow. Patient respiration passed directly against the vinyl sliding. I refused to check the window. The scent of damp earth permeated the drywall. By morning, barefoot impressions ruined the soil in the flower bed, deep, heavy, and facing the house. The responding police officers took unenthusiastic notes. They asked standard questions regarding enemies, narcotic use, and occupational stress. They suggested a security camera to ease my nerves. I installed 3 that afternoon, covering the front yard, the back door, and the blind side of the house. Night fell and I sat paralyzed at the kitchen table, obsessively monitoring the live feeds on my phone. At 3:11 a.m., the perimeter remained secure. At 3:12 a.m., the front camera fragmented into static. When the picture stabilized a second later, a figure occupied the absolute edge of the frame. It stood far back, perfectly positioned where the artificial light bled into the dark. The resolution offered no facial details, but the unnatural stillness commanded the screen. The digital timestamps flickered once before the entire feed froze completely. The next morning, the application classified the footage between 3:12 and 3:20 as a corrupted file. I packed a single duffel bag and drove blindly to a decaying motel 2 towns over, leaving every light in the room burning bright. I promised myself the retreat was a temporary measure to regain perspective. The local wireless connection proved terribly slow. Yet at 3:12 a.m., my phone vibrated on the cheap nightstand. A push notification alerted me to a new submission. It was published under my deleted username. The title read, "The Writer Who Tried to Leave." I opened the link with trembling fingers. The prose mirrored my exact voice, matching my rhythm and my disciplined restraint. Clean sentences and controlled rough edges. The text described the exact motel room. It detailed the neon sign flickering outside the window and the lingering odor of industrial bleach masking the stale tobacco. It cataloged the contents of my unpacked bag and mocked the way my hand unconsciously drifted towards the deadbolt. Then the narrative shifted. It described the tall, unmoving shape occupying the bathroom doorway just outside my peripheral vision. It detailed how the thing waited in perfect silence for the precise moment I would look up from the screen. The story ended mid-sentence. I did not turn around. Blood hammered against my ribs as I stared at the glowing screen for what felt like hours. When my muscles finally obeyed, I kept my eyes locked forward, grabbing the keys, and I ran out the door. I'm typing this manuscript from an undisclosed location. I refuse to name the city. I refuse to document this date. I no longer check the time. I no longer write fiction. I document this reality instead. Whenever I stop typing, the air grows thick, as if the dark is waiting for absolute silence to make its final move. If you happen to read this at 3:12 a.m., and a cold familiarity settles over your skin, if you entertain this brief, terrifying thought, this is not merely a story. This is not paranoia. This is pacing, and it knows you are here.